You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
Stay hungry.
Hungry. Foolish. Stay hungry. Stay foolish.
This is the E-Commerce All-Stars podcast, brought to you with heart by Nadimo.com.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's podcast with your host Brandon Moskwa, of course. And today I'm excited. I've got Sophie Howard on the line from New Zealand. She's the founder and architect of Amazon Navigator and Product University. I like what people call as their key focus, helping dreamers find smart passive income to enjoy financial freedom. That I just absolutely loved, and when I heard that, I said I need to talk to Sophie. So how are you, Sophie?
I'm great, thanks, Brendan. Thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to having a chat.
Well, you know, I always like people who are helping dreamers because I'm a bit of a dreamer myself, and if you can help people find passive incomes, that's even that much better. So I would love it if you can give some people a little bit of a background on yourself. I know you're a seven-figure, or you have been a seven-figure Amazon seller, and now you're an online business coach, but I'd love it if you can kind of give a little bit better background and details as to who you are and why people should listen.
Sure, thanks. So about 4 years ago, I was in the middle of that struggle where there's the day job and the children at home, had a toddler and a new baby, and the thought of 10 more years of slogging it out in corporate world, paying off a mortgage, or at least 10 years, it's probably kind of 20 years of mortgage ahead of us, and very poor sort of time freedom, and no money left over at the end of the month, even though my husband and I both had good jobs, just the cost of living's high here in New Zealand. So rather than pay for lots of daycare for the children and work really hard for someone else, decided I would find a way to make it work doing my own thing. So I had no background in online businesses at all, but when I came across Amazon as an opportunity where Amazon could do all the fulfillment of products, I thought I would start one of those businesses. So that was about 4 years ago, and my first product rocketed away. We did about 1.6 million in sales in the first year, just as I was sitting at the kitchen table with a baby on one hip. It's like, if I could do a few more products like this, I could definitely do a day job. So I've launched nearly 1,000 products on Amazon now, still doing it. And had a great run, really enjoyed it, and had some really good results, and helping other people now as well.
Fantastic. I can relate to your situation with regards to family and everything, and it definitely takes that's a full-time job on itself, and so to have a full-time job on top of that and start an Amazon business that did 1.5 million in sales in the first year there, I think you did amazingly well, and congratulations on that. Why Amazon, I guess, is the first question that comes to mind.
Well, we don't even have Amazon here in New Zealand, but I was looking at all the different business models, and I've got kind of a general business and commercial background. I did an MBA, I've worked as a diplomat, and then before that I worked in tech transfer for a university for 9 years. So I've done a lot of business to business stuff, and they were such big deals, but so long for anything to happen, and you had to have so much of other people's money as you grew them. So that was a bit stressful to do from home. And I didn't want to do a service, so I ruled out all the kind of consulting I could do relating to my day job. Then I ruled out all the dreadful multi-level marketing, which is just not my scene. Then I ruled out spending a lot of money on Facebook ads and getting really tight margins, just running a traditional e-commerce site, which I'm not against, but when I'm living in New Zealand and got to sort out all the fulfillment of products, my customers are never going to be in New Zealand. It's such a tiny population. So the FBA model, where Amazon does all the fulfillment for you, as soon as I saw that, I was on it. And I did a course that I didn't particularly rate. It was really a go after the mainstream bestseller products, copy them, get them mass produced in China, kind of compete on price and a few other tweaks. But it was a pretty nonsensical strategy, really, just to hope that by turning up you would get enough of the market share and get to keep your profit margin when everyone else had identical products. I hated that idea. So I did my own thing. I did a handmade product from Nepal was completely against all the rules and received wisdom on what an Amazon product should look like. And it went really well. So I've always done my own thing with completely different product criteria. I've built the brands quite differently. I choose completely different categories of products to most of the big internet marketing boys who are very aggressive on Amazon. I go for very low competition products, and it's made for mainly a pretty quiet and easy time of it. So I don't get into tussles over hijackers copying each other's products. I haven't had my Chinese supplier ripping me off or selling the same product themselves. I've had no quality or product issues. My main challenge has just been cash flow, as I've seen lots and lots of profitable products I could sell, but you can't do everything at once. So I've been juggling, just trying to get that balance of growth versus keeping enough profit back and, remembering to keep some for tax and trying to outsource some work. But it's a very low maintenance business once you've got those products live. So it's quite loaded at the front end. You've got to research product ideas, find suppliers, do the branding. But then once you've got a couple of umbrella brands and a couple of good suppliers, the good suppliers will often give you new product ideas. The existing brand can be the brand for the new products too, if you've planned that well. And then maintaining it's really easy. So that makes it easy to keep running when you've got other commitments in life, but it makes it really easy to sell that business to somebody else who doesn't want to do the work at the front end, but wants to pick up cash flow. So I've sold a couple of my Amazon businesses. The first one I sold for 7 figures and it was 18 months old. And I sold another business last year on Amazon for a few $100,000 US. And I'm now building my third one and specifically building it to sell. So 2 years in, that one will go on the market too, and we'll get another lump sum for that.
That's interesting. Because a lot of people would think that you can't really build your Amazon business to sell it, but from what you're speaking about, it would make perfect sense. I mean, people don't want to do that front end, but they want that cash flow by purchasing a company that's already selling. And so that's really interesting. I like what you said about doing things your own way, and kind of in a sense breaking a lot of the rules of buy something cheap from China, either put your own label on it or not, and then just sell it, and you're up against a huge amount of competition. I'd like to know there's a million questions I have, to be honest with you. But what would some of the major mistakes or basic mistakes that people make when they start on Amazon be?
The main theme, there's a few related ones here, but the general theme is they rely on some software tool instead of doing their own thinking and research themselves. They say, well, Jungle Scout or Helium 10 or whatever these Amazon research tools are, they're all fine, but people use them the wrong way. They say, it said it was low competition, according to some little smiley face icon of that software assessment of the opportunity. And they don't go and check themselves. They just take that at face value. And so they think they're doing low competition, but they're really not, because they haven't done their research properly. Or they just think, and this is so flawed, and I can't tell people this enough, but they think because everyone else is doing that product, it must be a good one. And it's like the opposite. Because everyone's doing that product, it's really competitive. So too many people are still going after the big blockbuster, they want to do the yoga mats or the garlic press or something really obvious that's just boomed before you start, because everyone else has access to the identical product with far deeper pockets for marketing and willing to run at a loss for months to get onto page one. People in those bigger volume products will do whatever it takes. You get big budgets, but also all the dirty tactics creep in with the high competition products. And if you're some innocent newbie, you'll just get smashed. So I see people really come to grief when they go for obvious products, and they think they're playing it safe because surely everybody needs one of those things, but they're the things everybody else is selling. So it's horrible to be. And any mistakes I've made myself have been feeling a bit bullish, there's a great product, I really like that supplier, it's pretty mainstream, there's already quite a few sellers, but I'm sure I can do better. It's disastrous. That's the time where the other sellers drop their price by $10 on the spot. You've got no real lasting point of difference. So I've only done that a couple of times where I thought I could beat the big boys, and it's maybe you could if you were willing to run at a loss, but I can see their numbers because everything's transparent. When you do your research, you can see the other sellers' sale prices, you can see their images and the listing and the product quality and the specs, and then you can find the cost of goods by talking to suppliers. So I know for a fact a lot of those people are doing big revenue but running at a big loss. And
Great.
so I'm only interested in profit, and that's what I'm really focused on. And anyone I'm coaching, I want to make sure they don't necessarily need to have $1 million in year one. If I had a formula to keep repeating that, I'd be very happy. But you can't be that specific. Anyone who tells you that is definitely a winning product from a bit of software or telling you that, they just can't be true. I mean, they cannot know that. You can have a good process to pick products, but you have to build a portfolio of at least 10 products to have a solid business. And you need to diversify a little bit beyond Amazon just to future-proof things. And you need to use your own brains to do your own research and pick a product that not lots of other people can do easily themselves if it takes off.
Great. One of the things, actually, I just want to circle back to, as you said, software. I had the founder of Jungle Scout on our show, and I'm actually not a good friend, I'm a fan of his. I think he's got a good product, and he's got a good life mantra. I mean, he gives back a lot. And that said, though, I mean, you're right. I mean, and we did talk about it, that you have to take it beyond that. You can't just use his tools. You have to use some common sense and do your own investigating as well. And so I want to make sure it's clear to the listeners that I'm not smashing Jungle Scout, because I actually am a fan of that tool and a fan of the company. But you're absolutely right in respect to the fact that you need to actually go out there and do additional research. And he's even been so clear to put out right out in the open what their margin of error is, and that they do have one. That's fantastic, because there is margin of error. I mean, it's software. It's only using the data that's available, and if that data goes in wrong, it's going to come out wrong, right? Yeah,
I think it's a brilliant tool. I use it myself. I tell my students to use it, but lots of people are over-reliant on it, and they use it to pick the product rather than to validate their research. And so they just cut a few corners, and each product they launch is $1 million opportunity, and they don't do an extra half hours of Googling or checking some stuff out. That's really easy to check out. It's free to check out. It's checking what actually comes up on page 1 of Amazon when you type in that search term, and then you see what the actual competition is today, what people's actual pricing is today, and how good are those listings, because you can assess all that, but you just have to do it yourself as well as use the tools. The tools I really like using, when I've got a product idea, I'll check out whether I think there's enough demand, and then I'll check out how strong the competition looks. And the third thing is I'll go and look on Jungle Scout and see what's the monthly revenue of the top sellers, because if there's people making $1 million a month in sales, even if it looks low competition from my own research, there'll be crowds of people waiting to swoop on that one. They'll all have found that same opportunity because it's available. So I like to see something doing maybe 5,000 a month in sales and know that I can do better, but you won't get all the competition for those sorts of products. And those are the ones that are easy and they're quick to launch. On day 1 of launching, you'll be on page 1 without having to give away lots of units. So there's a real little Amazon bubble where people are trying to game Amazon and hack their way to page 1. And they spend a lot of money doing big product giveaways and all these crazy launches that are just sort of tricking Amazon that the product's more popular than it actually is, which Amazon won't like. And you're spending money giving your product to the people that never really want your product. They just want some coupon code for, excuse me, they just want a coupon code for a cheap product. They aren't the people that will ever want to buy your product. So there's a lot of gaming goes on to win the Amazon game, but it's not good business practice. If you put that same budget into telling some influencers with a really relevant market, an audience that listens to them about why your product's got this point of difference and it's better or interesting or new, or running some Facebook ads to people who've self-identified they're interested in that product or type of product, then you might get a slightly lower sort of sales rate per day, but you're starting to get the message out who wants your product and why. So it kind of has a longer term benefit, but I don't like this short-term tricky stuff. And you have to
Right.
be really aggressive with it too. People give away thousands of units in launches and it costs a lot of money and you still haven't got good data. Does anybody want my product at full price? Can they find it and do they want it? And will they pay the price? So you need to know that from your first shipment. Otherwise, you're looking at ordering your second bigger shipment of stock and you still don't know if anybody wants it and if it's a good product or not. So I'd rather it fails early from a small shipment than you order a container, plan to give away 2,000 units, and then you've still got to keep discounting it to keep it moving. So it's all about the profit and as quickly as possible getting back to your break even from your first order and then making profit as you can.
Well, that's the thing to me. I mean, the way I look at it is your first order is a big capital outlay for anybody. I mean, unless you're a huge business and, you know, that sort of thing. But regardless, you're putting money out up front to get that order in, to then send it over to Amazon for fulfillment, et cetera. Long story short, you're putting money out up front just for that. I mean, if you're running your own e-commerce store, then you're additionally putting money out for your advertising, et cetera. Long story short, do you recommend giving away product or not?
No, I don't do it. I've just launched I've done quite a few different brands. I've sold to Amazon businesses. The one I've just launched recently is a new account, a new brand. It's all shiny and lovely and new. And we're about 3 or 4 months in. And I've got 62 listings. And they cost me $13,000 in inventory costs. So very small orders of lots of different products from 4 different suppliers. None of my suppliers are in China. In fact, none of them are even in Asia. I've got some really interesting products in that new brand. But it hasn't cost me very much to have 62 products. That's $13,000. So they're really small volumes of each product. And they vary. Some I've got 800 units of on day one, others barely double figures. And I'm just testing and seeing which products look like the winners. So I don't give them away. I want to see what people can find and what can get to page one just through organic search and organic customers buying. And sometimes it's tempting. So one of the products, there's a competitor doing about $1 million a month with a related product, and mine's a lot better. And I could boost it. I could easily give away 10 or 20 or 50 a day. And then, you know, it would get to page one and people would find it and keep buying it. But it's very hard to stay in stock. It's hard to just manage the growth rate when you jump into something too big too soon. I'd rather it took off slower and was more profitable. I also, this is my pick, might get quoted on this later. I think, you know how last year Amazon came down really heavy on all the reviewers who were gaming that and paying for reviewers to leave positive reviews. I think the giveaway thing is not really in the spirit of Amazon's policy where you're not allowed to manipulate your ranking. So the marketers and the people with the tools that do those giveaway launch tools, you know, there's a few of them, and they all say, you know, we're fine. It's just marketing the product and showing new customers about a new product. It's part of our launch. Well, it's not very hard to figure out. It's all about getting onto page one. Amazon really cares that their customers' shopping experience is a quality one, and everything that they see on page one is something that they actually want and have a reasonable chance of wanting to pay full price for. Because if it's massively discounted, Amazon, you know, their fees are off the sale price. So those coupon codes are a bit of a tricky thing because Amazon gets the full fees, and it's really the seller is subsidizing that. But Amazon's wording, if you read the policy, I would interpret it that they would not see those giveaways as being what they want on their platform. So when lots of people start doing it and lots of customers have a page one result of a whole load of junky new stuff that's just being given away, that's not a good customer experience. I think Amazon will get a bit sick of that one day soon because people are doing it as standard. All the big courses are saying, choose your product, check out your competition, calculate how many you've got to give away to get onto page one, then do a big giveaway. So it's not that product's risen to page one on its own merit. It's just been sort of forced there. And so there's a lot of products on page one that are junk.
Yes, there are. I actually want to commend you on doing it this way. I think that it's refreshing to hear somebody speak on the show and just in general about doing things organically, and not necessarily quicker is better. I read a quote once that said, yeah, I'm going to butcher the quote, but it was along the lines of, it's not always a matter of speeding up life. Sometimes it's more important to slow it down. And I think when you're in business, you want to get to that $1 million mark so fast, and you want to get to these numbers in your head that really mean nothing. Like, why would you want $1 million in revenue or sales if you lose money?
Yeah.
Or your margin is so thin that you barely made enough to feed your family that year. Wouldn't you rather make half of that and be doing really, really well, building a strong business that you could later sell?
Yeah. And there's other heads come in as well. You need staff, and your burn rate, your cash burn rate goes shooting up when you start to do all that other tricky stuff. You're paying for those services, you're paying for the stock, you're paying the full Amazon fees, you're probably paying a virtual assistant to muck around with coupon codes. It's a different way of doing it. So I've got kind of a roadmap of building a brand. And my new products, I mean, they haven't broken the internet. I have not been doing, $100,000 months yet in month 3. I did in my first business. I think I was a bit lucky with some of those early products back in the low competition days. But these ones now, 3 months in, my passive income, and it's properly passive income. It's not, this is the real profit from virtually no ongoing work. It's already earning what a rental property income would give me in about month 3. When I get to probably another couple of months, it's enough that if I did nothing else, I could live off the profits. So even, depends on your living costs, but I've paid off my mortgage through selling off my Amazon businesses. I've had 2 big lump sums and paid off 2 houses. And so that was a very good thing to do. If you're paying interest to the bank and you've got debt and you've got the opportunity to collect a lump of cash and clear your debt, that totally changes how much money you need to earn each month. From that point onwards, you just need food and play money and, future investments. So even for me now, so the exchange rate to New Zealand is pretty good with the USD at the moment. So if I had a $10,000 a month Amazon brand with a handful of products in, low competition, 2 or 3 products doing 3 or 5K a month, really small, really simple, I could live off that if my profit margin's about a third. So depends on your cash burn rate and your lifestyle, obviously, but I could live very happily with, no mortgage. I've got a horse, I go skiing, I've got my kids in good school, so we get really, really good schooling here for free. We don't have to do health insurance here. So everybody's, everybody's lifestyle and cost of living is different. But if you want financial freedom rather than to build an empire, you can do it and keep your expenses down, be frugal, but live really well and have passive income. That's what motivates me. I don't want to build some huge empire with 150 staff and having to work full time, unless I want to work 4 hours a week, spend time with my family, spend time outdoors doing fun stuff, and just know that money is coming in every month, whether I'm working on it or not, and I'm building an asset I can sell one day and have a couple of properties paid off and is sort of pretty secure with that.
Well, I'm sold. Well, sign me up. Just kidding. Well, I'm not kidding, actually. I want to hear more and more and more. And we're going to have to visit this conversation after the call another day. But because, quite frankly, I think you have an absolutely perfect, in my opinion, perfect approach to Amazon and Amazon selling and that sort of thing. The worst thing I think somebody could do is just go and throw a ton of money at a product they think is going to hit it big, and then end up sitting on all this product or giving it away for free or not making money on it, or end up working harder than they are currently just to try and move the product. And it also causes issues with Amazon, I believe, if your product is sitting in their warehouses and not moving.
Yeah.
But
they don't want to be in a free storage unit, that's for sure. They want it selling. And they make money. Amazon's incentives and ours are pretty well aligned. We both want to sell high-priced products with good margins. So they need it to be efficient and decent volume, but mainly a high sell price and high at their end's great. The more transactions, the better, because they're clipping the ticket. And as long as each individual sale is profitable for us, that's what we want too. But if we're running at a loss on the individual sales, it's not going to work. So you need to have every day is profitable rather than neutral or going backwards. It's not a volume game, it's a profit game.
Yes, I would agree with you again on that one. Well, that's awesome. So I'd like it if we could actually zoom forward and ask you for any final words of wisdom and how people can reach you, how they can find more out about your coaching and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so my advice to people, not just in Amazon business, but in all business, is probably just to keep a bit clear of the crowd. So anybody selling a blueprint that promises this is just 3 easy steps, or anything where everybody else is doing it the same way and it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And so developing a bit of critical thinking and healthy amount of cynicism to what the marketers tell you before you spend money on another course or another tool or another business in a box thing. Just really apply some common sense and do some research and hit Google. And a lot of this stuff online is very transparent. You can see other people's businesses, you can see their products for sale, you can see what they're costing and charging. So you can do a lot more research on your own than most people bother to do to assess whether an opportunity is a good one or not. So I just see a lot of people getting sucked into some very slick marketing spiels. It's all made sound like it's going to be very easy. Just follow my simple step-by-step thing and you'll be there with your $1 million business in no time. And a lot of people are just wasting a lot of money on courses and, various programs that aren't going to deliver the result, because there's just no chance that many people could do it with the same tactics, because the tactic stops working when it gets flooded. If you look at, the Facebook guys saying, oh, now we all need to do our video ads this way, and next week we all need to do our bot messenger that way. Everybody kind of runs around like a big flock of sheep, and then the thing that used to have impact doesn't, because so many people are now doing it. So just learn to think for yourself and keep learning and stay current and watch the people who are actually making money rather than the people who are the best at selling their thing.
Yeah. I had a guy on my show once who said most marketers are broke. And he's talking about that exact thing. It's like, hey, they're out there trying to sell you everything that could work, and and they're making money off of you because they're doing this, but you don't expect it to work, because by the time you're in on it, everyone's in on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I get a lot of the stuff I learn about from listening to podcasts. Like your podcast's brilliant because you get different people in from different walks of e-commerce life who are doing what's working today and sharing it with no agenda. We're not we might have a course or something, or I do some work with new Amazon sellers, but the people that come on podcasts, usually, I don't know, I think it's a good audience that listens to podcasts. They're the ones that have taken the effort to be learners and to stay current and to invest in finding out what's working, what's current, rather than sitting there passively and something hits them in a Facebook ad and they go down some rabbit hole of suddenly they're on some big fancy program. So listening to podcasts and reading books is just brilliant, and just following the thought leaders and what they're saying and doing. So podcasts are a great way to stay up to date because you can consume them really easily and they're free to listen to, and then you get all sorts of new ideas and hear what's happening in the world. Even the ones that aren't pure business, people like Tim Ferriss have got a good podcast because he talks about just what makes people successful and their habits and behaviors that have got them amazing results. But there's lots of really, really good podcasts and good books, and you don't need to get the answer to all your business opportunities from big fancy courses or programs.
Right. I would agree with that, and that's the whole goal of my show, is to educate and I call it educate, entertain, and encourage. I try and educate people, and you have to entertain them somewhat. I hope it's just my wonderful voice that entertains, but I know it's not. It's my guests, and then encouraging people, and I think what you've done today is hit on all those, because really you've encouraged them that there is a way to make it work, and it's not by following what everybody else is doing, and it's by essentially you going your own way and doing it your own way, but there are some overall outlines and things that you've learned that you could teach people that will help them go out on their own and make this passive income. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. How can people get a hold of you? Is it, I mean, I'll put these links in the show notes, but is it aspiringentrepreneurs.com?
Yeah, that's the one, Aspiring Entrepreneurs. So on that site, there's things like my product selection checklist, things I look for in an ideal Amazon product. I've still never found the perfect Amazon product. You've always got some trade-off somewhere or some niggle, but all the best products I've launched, I've always had a little last-minute doubt, but hit the go button anyway, and mainly worked, some and not all, and the ones that haven't, I've sort of fed that back into the criteria list, things I wouldn't do again.
Right.
And then I do, there's an online program there, but I do fun stuff. So we go off, I've just come back from a week in India with 44 of my Amazon students. We've just been to a big trade show looking for products there, because these new tariffs from China and just the standard mass-produced products are pretty hard to win with on Amazon now. And you've got tariffs and you've got lots of competition. You've got sellers learning how to do it themselves. All the manufacturers in China can do this themselves really easily.
Mm-hmm.
But places like India, I'm taking a group to Vietnam early in 2019 to do some product sourcing on the ground there. So they're really fun weeks and great for finding lots of products and meeting the suppliers and making decisions where you can line up a whole year or two's worth of products in one efficient swoop, going around a trade show or meeting with suppliers. So I get out and about quite a bit rather than just sit behind my computer screen.
Wow.
And we've got a nice community of Amazon sellers.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Well, thank you for being on the show, Sophie. I think you shared a wealth of knowledge, and you've just, you've really given some people some things to think about differently in the Amazon space. So I'm super pumped that you were on the show. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks so much for having me. And it's always fun talking about Amazon. It's totally changed my life starting this business, and I haven't spent a lot of money. I haven't outlaid a lot of money at any one stage. I have, in the end, spent millions and millions on products, but ones that have already proven themselves. And I think that's really important, not to sort of be just, not flippant, but just naive and overconfident at the start. You need to really start small and carefully before, you're onto a winning product. There's no way to know for sure if it's going to go well until you've done a small test. So that philosophy is pretty good, just keeping it really frugal and simple and small until you're ready to scale.
Yes, that's awesome. Honestly, I keep hearing you say that, and it keeps making me want to actually push that button, because I've got a whole list of different products, but I always get to that point, and it's like, no, that sort of thing. So I'll be one of the first to hit your website and look at the checklist and then knock off all the products that I have in mind. It'll probably end up with one or two, but it's to start somewhere, right? Which
you only need one.
Yeah.
There's a zero chance of success with no products listed, and it's not a guaranteed winner when you do your first one, but you're definitely not going to do anything if you do nothing.
No, exactly. So thank you so much for that word of wisdom as well, Sophie. Have a fantastic, I believe it's evening there for you, so have a great evening.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Brandon. Talk to you soon. Cheers. Bye.
You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
Stay hungry.
Hungry. Foolish. Stay hungry. Stay foolish.
This is the E-Commerce All-Stars podcast, brought to you with heart by Nadimo.com.